Hi, I'm Suresh Venkat. I'm in conversation with Mr. R Ramanan, Managing Director and CEO of CMC. Mr. Ramanan, first and most important question for you. There's a lot of talk about managing change at the Nasscom India Leadership Forum. In fact, it's been said that one of the key aspects of leadership is your ability to manage change. You've managed a massive change from being a 100% government-owned subsidiary to being a private enterprise. What has the journey been like for CMC? How difficult was it?
Actually, the journey has been very interesting, very challenging and very rewarding. First of all, CMC was, as you mentioned, a 100% government-owned company. So it had also less than 5% of its revenues coming from the international market, and almost nothing from the private sector. So one of the major changes that we embarked upon was transformation of mindsets, the people mindset. That was, I think, the biggest challenge, because having been part of the government, a lot of business was on the platter most of the time. And now suddenly you had to find new business for yourself. The second one was, when we started our journey, we had 300 crores deficit in the company. So that for an IT company was very unusual. And we had to start correcting processes and making people more aware that profitability is very important, considering that now it was a private company and it was very visible on the stock exchange. And the third one was, how do we transform solutions and services? It had degenerated into a lot of low value, low margin work. Even though CMC had done some historically fantastic projects like the railway reservation system, the computerization of the stock exchange. So one of the challenges was, how do we reinitiate transformation into high value adding, solution oriented system engineering integration projects.
One of the criticisms of the Indian software industry at large is that we're very, very efficient in terms of producing software and managing large corporations, but we're not so good at coming up with fundamental innovation. How do you define innovation at CMC, and what do you do to bring it out in your employees?
Actually, that was one of the main things that we focused on in the transformation. CMC was actually a very innovative company to begin with, because of the solutions it had produced. In fact, not many people know that it had produced more than 100 products within the Indian sector for various sectors, from banking.
You keep worrying that India doesn't produce enough products, that we only produce services.
Absolutely. And these were all replicable products and replicable solutions. We then picked out those which were, which made relevance to the modern era. There were some which we were just sustaining and which had not undergone transformation in technology. And today, that has become the key growth area for the company. In fact, 68% of our revenues come from the international market. And that was because of its focus on innovation, solutions, and embedded and real-time services. One of the things that we continue to focus on is how to plow back innovation which is relevant to the customer. So it has to be customer-centric innovation. It cannot be just because a particular technology is gaining ground. So for example, we know that cloud, mobility, big data, analytics, and social media are making, they're all the big trends. But how do we make it relevant to the customer? And what is the specific...
Not just because it's a big trend, it has to also be relevant and important. And it's appropriate technology for that specific problem.
Absolutely. And then how do we integrate it into the mainstream of whatever the customer is doing? So for example, if you're in core insurance and we have a product called Genesis, we are seeing whether Genesis can now have mobility and social media interfaces, which is going to help the general insurance companies.
Various reports tell us that the number of outsourceable jobs in IT from US and Europe are actually shrinking. Does the Indian software industry need to invent itself in the light of this kind of trend, that the number of jobs that are going to come to you are shrinking?
I think we have to do that, and we have to do that constantly. The companies, Indian companies, should reinvent themselves in terms of shifting the image that we are great outsourcing companies to we are great solutions and services oriented companies. And in that...
what are some of these trends? What are the trends and the kinds of jobs that are being outsourced and the kind of roles that are being outsourced?
More and more customers are looking at how are you going to value add beyond just cost efficiencies. So how can you help in revenue generation for the company? So can we help transform their company using IT and technology into becoming more efficient and more productive in the marketplace?
So not just outsourcing a process, you need to be integrated with that parent company's strategy and see how you can make them more profitable.
Absolutely, and that is the way Indian companies will have to go, because you're going to find more and more competition in the international market for just commoditized outsourcing.
Right, my final question to you, Mr. Ramanan. The US and Europe, how worried are you about what's going to happen in 2013-14?
We have had very good growth over the last year. We have grown in our international market.
No fears of triple dip recession, double dip recession, the tail of the double dip?
I think those fears are always there, but I think as more and more value add from the companies come, I don't think that is a problem in terms of getting new business.
What about the threat to India from Indonesia and Philippines at the other end?
As long as we continue to innovate, and I think we have the advantage of size, we have the advantage of still huge growth possibility.
We may not have the advantage of low wages for much longer.
Yeah, we may not have, but then if we are able to transform emerging cities and empower emerging cities into major centers of development, then we may still have the price advantage.
Right, Mr. Ramanan, thank you for talking to us.